First of all, thank you everyone for joining in on a Sunday. I am really glad to be here, and we are going to have a 2-day workshop on Flutter where I will take you through the basics of Flutter, uh, starting from what are widgets in Flutter. We'll cover different topics in it and then gradually proceed on to bigger topics and introduce you to a number of different features of Flutter. So this workshop is more of meant for beginners. So if you aren't familiar with Flutter, this would be an interesting workshop to get to know it in depth. And if you have some experience or if you have been working with Flutter for some time, then this workshop would be a quick overview, as in of different things that you can do with Flutter. So we'll look at how to work with APIs, how to get data in Flutter, and how to display it in app. That would be an interesting take. But for today, we'll get started with the basics. I hope my screen is visible. Could you confirm once?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
visible on
your
the
screen
screen.
is visible.
Thank you. So a little about me. I think the team already introduced me. So I'm a Flutter developer. I've been working with Flutter for some time now, and I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Restin. You can go to that, and I'm more active on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me after this session, you can reach out to me there. Other than that, I have worked as an intern at a few startups in Flutter, and I regularly participate in hackathons where I have used Flutter as one of the, uh, for developing applications. And this T-shirt that I'm wearing is also from DevFolio. So I keep regularly participating in hackathons. Uh, Today's session, we were talking about who this session is meant for. It's basically meant for beginners, and if you are somewhat familiar with Flutter, then this would be an overview of the architecture and the underlying components of Flutter. So before we start, there are two use cases that I take up for all my workshops, which are if you are a student developer, let us say you are studying in college, which is the which most probably you are. So if you are a student developer, you are looking to start into development, as in you know programming languages, the basics of programming, you have done data structures and some part of it, and now you are looking to start into development. So that is one use case. And the other is you are looking to build a product, as in you are interested in starting something of your own, a startup maybe, and you are trying to build something. Both of these cases, you are trying to build something. This is supposed to be a
Sir, your voice is lagging.
is it better now? I think is it better now? Like I have my mic plugged in, so I can turn off the video. I think that would be better.
Yes, sir, it is better now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sorry. Okay. So you are looking to build something. That is the goal. So again, like if you are looking to build a product, as in let us say it could be an AR application where you need to portray something into the real world, an image that you want to put out to the real world, show it through your smartphone, or you want to build a social media type thing where you need to use some native features like the camera. So these things would be difficult with web, so you decide to go with the application, let us say. The first case that could be, again, most people that use the mobile phone, they spend their time on mobile apps, as in half of the time you would have noticed yourself, if you are a mobile phone user, you would prefer to use an application. So if you are using Twitter, instead of going over to twitter.com, you would use the application. Instead of reading blogs on medium.com, you would use the Medium application. And for social media too, there are a lot of applications that you would rather use on phone than using a mobile web view. So it is an interesting statistic that people use their times. People spend their time mostly on mobile apps when using their mobile phone. So you decide to go with the mobile application. You need to build a mobile application. The first thing that most people would do is go over to Android Studio, download the and download the framework and try to build an application using Java or Kotlin. It is a simple interface in Android Studio. You need to drag and drop the elements and then later code the connection between them. So that is for Android, and you build your application using that Android Studio and export it to Play Store where it is available for Android users. But the problem is half of your friends, there could be a chance that some of the people use iOS devices. So again, if you have to create the same application for iOS as well, it would take a lot of time. You would have to learn Swift and try to build the same application that you built for Android into Swift for iOS devices. A very tiresome process. And if in the end, like after you have built the two applications, now you need to create a landing page for your applications, expand to web, again that would be a problem. Now you need to know website of it too. So Flutter solves this problem in a very unique way. Like with Flutter you can create applications for Android, you can create applications for iOS, and you can even create websites using Flutter. So that is a very interesting thing, as in Flutter is a cross platform framework, so you can develop applications for Android and iOS, and can also develop web apps for web. And not only that, right now in beta you can also develop applications for Windows, for Mac OS, for Linux, and it was announced in Flutter 2. So 6 different devices, creating applications for 6 different devices is a very big thing. It is like you need to learn just one framework, and from the same code base you can expand to 6 different platforms. Now our goal isn't to create one application that would run on 6 different devices, but there is a lot of advantage with this in terms of business logic, in terms of developer cost. Like one developer would be enough, as in to, if you want to create an application you can do it too. So that is our goal. Like we are saving so much on business logic. We'll come back to this point, but before I go into that, a quick overview of the Flutter website. We'll see how to install Flutter to your system, and then I would tell you about some features, and then we'll come back to the architecture and the business logic part. So you can go over to Flutter. You can search for Flutter, and flutter.dev is the official website that should show up. It has this home design, which is you can simply go over to get started to install Flutter to your devices. Now Flutter installation is really simple. You can select whatever operating system you have. So if you have a Windows, you need to go over to the Windows part and get the Flutter SDK. So this Flutter SDK would come as a zip file. You can download it and unzip it in your local C drive, save it in a source folder, and then you have to perform the basic operations like updating your path. And after you're done with the installation, you can use Android Studio as an IDE, or you can use Visual Studio Code. Now a common question is like, which one should you prefer? If you are a beginner completely new to Flutter development, or any development for that matter, you can go with Android Studio. Why? Because it would show you like everything. It would the emulator setup would be easy. You will get access to Flutter Inspector and all the other features. So you can go for Android Studio if you are completely new. And if you have been working with web, as in you have worked with HTML, CSS in the past, you know how to use Visual Studio Code, then you can go for Visual Studio Code for your IDE setup. You'll have to install some plugins, and Flutter would be ready to go on your already existing Visual Studio. So that is up to you. You can choose your ID, set up Flutter. After this workshop, if you do not have Flutter right now, you can install it later. Or you can, if you have your Windows or if you have your PC open right now, you can keep it on installation. The zip file would take some time to download. I wouldn't go into the installation part. You can configure it after the workshop is done. But for now, I want to show you some of the features that Flutter has, right? So one of their most highlighted feature is faster development. Why faster development? Is because as soon as you write or make changes to your code, you can simply hot reload the application and view those changes in your application. Now, I would also show this in practice, as in when we write the code, I will show how hot a reload and fast development works in Flutter. But this is one of their feature, one of their highlighted feature. And other is expressive and beautiful UI. So with Flutter, you get access to every pixel on the screen, and which means that you can modify, create different UIs, and these UIs are native in performance, as in they would run according to the platform. So it is like a really good for both Android and iOS. And native performance, again, Flutter widgets incorporate all critical platform differences that are there. We have Material and Cupertino libraries for Android and iOS respectively. So it has full native performance. So that is about it. And one of the things, like a common question that I get is, why Flutter? Like, what's the future? We'll talk about it in depth later on. But right now, there are a number of companies that are using Flutter. We have eBay, Google, Square, and Alibaba using them. BMW recently made their application, which had a big team of Flutter developers. So that these are some of the big companies that are using Flutter. You can get started and install Flutter. So we'll come back to Flutter system overview, how it works, and a simplified comparison between Flutter and React Native, right? So let me just share my screen again. Talking about the system overview in Flutter, every code that is written in Flutter is written in this language called Dart. So Dart programming, very simple. It is a lot similar to Java. It is a lot similar to C programming language, if you have seen. And what we have is, we have two libraries called Material and Cupertino in it. Material is for the Android side, Cupertino is for the iOS side. We have these two UI libraries uh, which are used to make some widgets. These widgets have animations. We can paint these widgets on screen, and then we can give them some gestures, as in on tap and all that. And this comes under the Dart framework. Once you write code in Dart, it is then compiled by an engine which is written in C, C++ to a platform specific, right? Platform specific embedder, which creates a native performance to it. So I wouldn't go into the depth of this, but there is this simple comparison between Flutter and React Native that would help you understand things better. In Flutter, again, UI rendering, the problem with a few cross-platform, frameworks is the UI isn't as good. So after you write code from one single platform, after it translates to native code, the UI used to become a little bit, bad. So that was one of the problem that Flutter fixed. It has a native performance, as in it renders code for both of these platforms, whereas React Native uses a bridge. So React Native, what it does is, it has a bridge. So if you make some changes, it is then applied through that bridge, whereas Flutter completely renders it to that specific platform. So UI rendering is one area where Flutter is preferred. Then there's data processing, again, for which Flutter is preferred. And then the synchronization part, again, because it has a more native performance. And whereas for programming, again, for people who are familiar with the JS side, who have done web development in past, moving to React Native would be easy. But if you do not know like HTML, CSS, etc., starting out, so you can go ahead and start with Flutter for development, because you do not have to go through all that, and you'll just have to learn Dart, and you can create websites, applications through it. So both of these, like Flutter and React Native code is available too, but Flutter, you can just go over to their GitHub page, where you'll have their complete code made public, and even you can open issues, contribute code if you want to. You can check them out. So they have completely made available their code at github.com/flutter. And coming back to the point, before we go into the business logic part, let me just give a quick overview of the Dart programming language. To go ahead with Dart, we'll go over to Dartpad. So this is the Dartpad. It is an online compiler where you can just test and run your code. Dart is a lot similar to C++, C programming language, and Java if you have done them in the past. So yeah, every like any other programming language, you can have a main function that would get the control first when you run this program. So this void main would get the control first, and then we can define some variables, as in int n could be a number, and we need to use semicolons in it. And you can use this number printed to screen by just typing print n. So if I run this now, it should print 10 to the console here. Yeah, so we have it. So this is the how you can define numbers. We can have strings as well in Dart. You can write string and give it a name, and don't forget the semicolon. So you can just print this name. So yeah, that is how you define a string. So there are a lot of other things that you can do. One is instead of defining them as int and string, you can use variable var. So these values can be dynamic now. I just use it for n itself. So I have defined a variable n. Now I can dynamically give it a integer value and a string value. So it should both have 10 and it should both take a string value. And if you have to write something as in phone, so instead of using single semicolon, you can use double, and now it should work fine. So these are some of the Dart basics. Another other things that you can use are lists in Dart, which are a lot similar to the list we have in Python. So if I define a list called fruits, I can give it some string values as in, and you can use these values and print them to screen, right? So yeah, we used one, so it printed the 0 and 1 part of the list, and this is like the basic. You can also define functions, which would be a lot similar to any other programming language. So if I have to create a new function, I can just type in void fun, give it a parameters list which I'll keep empty, and give it a print statement. And I can call this function inside my main by just typing in fun. And now if I run this code, it should first go to this function, print the statement in it, and then just run the code as such. So Dart is very simple to learn. It is a lot similar to any other programming language that you might have done in the past. There are a few other tricks like map and all that, which you can take up as you go, as in whenever the need be for that. So for now, these are like the basics to show like how simple it is to learn Dart. And after you like install Flutter and you choose your IDE, I like to use Android Studio. It is good for beginners, as I mentioned, but after you have done with that, I'll show you how to work with the with Flutter in it, and also try to show you the cross platform part, as in run the application both for uh, first run it on mobile phone and then run it on web. I'll close this project. So after you are done installing Flutter, what you will have is on the Android Studio, you'll get this button called create a new Flutter project. And you can create a new Flutter project and give it a name, a description, and then you have to give it a package name. So package names are unique, as in after you want, when you want to publish your app to Play Store or App Store, this package name needs to be unique. So you can set it to your domain name, and or you can just make it after your name and make it unique. So this needs to be unique when you're publishing app. So we'll just for now get started with a package name and create a new Flutter project. So all Flutter applications, when you create a new Flutter project, come with some default code. So this default code is provided by the Flutter team. It is a very simple application. I'll just run it on my Chrome for now. And while this happens, I'll come back to, it should take some time to run. So we'll have to wait on it. But while this happens, I'll just come back to my Flutter website and we'll go over to the documentation section of it. Um, because after you are done installing Flutter, you can go over to docs, where all the information about how to work with Flutter and all is provided. So we also have cookbooks here. Cookbooks are simple tutorials by the Flutter team about certain things you can do in Flutter. So the application has started on a local host. This is for the web part of it. And I'll also show it on my mobile device. Okay. So it's still running here. What I'll do is just, yeah. So this is like the first homepage that you see when you run your application for the first time. This is a simple code which has a floating action button right here. So when you tap on it, it should increment this counter that we have on the screen, and it has a simple app bar on the top. So I'll also walk you through the code that we have here. So initially, when you create a new Flutter project, it has a void main function. So main function is again the first function inside the project that gets the control from the CPU. So this main function runs the app, and this my app is a stateless widget. So what are these widgets right now? Widgets, you can think of widgets as Lego blocks, right? So Flutter applications are, if in Flutter applications, everything that you see is a widget, which is a very simple concept. Widgets are these small Lego blocks. They can be visualized as Lego blocks that you keep piling one on top of the other, and you get a complete application in the end. So like we have on screen right now, uh, like these widgets that we have on screen, uh, it could be imagined like a Lego block that you put one on top of the other. So there are two types of widgets. One is the stateless widget and one is the stateful widget. So a stateless widget, as the name suggests, it lacks state. So what is this state? Let us say like this widget initially was blue in color. So it would remain blue or brown as we have right here. It would remain the same color throughout the execution of the app. So whereas a stateful widget a stateful widget is full of state, so it can change state, as in it has a full growth cycle. So initially this widget could be pink in color, but as it grows through the app, it would turn color in it, as in it would become brown. So I'll show this by example because it would be better clear like that. But this my app widget is a stateless widget, so it would, throughout the execution of the complete application, it would remain same in state. It has some codes and comments in it. It returns a material app. Material, as I mentioned, is a UI library. This is for Android. It has all the features to create applications. It has like material components in it. You can go over to Material UI, search for Material UI on Google, and you will get everything in it. It's a popular React framework, derives a lot of features from it, and you can check out like what all is available in it for Flutter. And there are a different components in it, as in you have buttons, etc., which you can use within your Flutter application. So we import material whenever we start a new Flutter application or whenever we are writing Dart code. So we are using a material, we are returning a material app which has a title and a home page set to it. This home page is the one that we were seeing uh, in our web browser. So this home page had a app bar, which was basically this top app bar that we have here, which simply read like Flutter demo homepage. And then we had a body which had a which had this counter in it, and whenever we pressed on this plus button, it incremented the counter. So this was a stateful widget because we were changing some components of it. As in when we were clicking on that increment button, it needed to upgrade. So it was changing state. So that is why it was made a stateful widget. Whereas this my app was a stateless widget. It was the bottom widget. Nothing was happening to it. So it was made into a stateless widget. And to make this better clear, I'll clear this code. I'll also get rid of this my from the homepage part of it. And now what I'll do is I'll define a new widget, as in I'll keep it stateless for now, call this homepage. I'll get rid of this title property. Now I have my Android Studio right here where I was just making changes to the code, and I'll also open, okay, I just closed it. So I'll rerun my application again and I'll just open it simultaneously to show like how hot reload works. And then I'll also take this up again, stateless and stateful widget, because it might not be clear in the first go. But stateless widgets, they lack state. They do not upgrade during the execution of the app, whereas stateful widgets, they have state to them, and so they'll upgrade if changes are required. Like if you need to change the color of the Lego block, you can do so during the state. It can be understood with that demo we have of a person growing, as in he starts out as a child and then he becomes older. So like that, state widgets can have different states throughout their lifetime. So it will take some time to run, but so right now we are getting this blank screen because our homepage returns nothing. It has a simple container. So this container, what is this container? What was the scaffold widget that we were talking about? So let me go back to the Flutter documentation itself. We have this Flutter documentation which has a section called widgets catalog. So as I mentioned, everything in Flutter is a widget. We talked about two different types of widgets, stateless and stateful. But there are a lot of widgets, as in those two were the types of how you can define a widget. But you have widgets like text that you can use. So if you want to insert text in your Flutter application, you can use a text widget and put the text there. So if you want to use an image in your application, so there is a widget for that as well. So we have this widgets catalog that lists out the widgets that you can use inside your Flutter application. We have text here. We have like the basics that you need to know, which include container, scaffold, and all these widgets. So we have basics widget that you need to know before you build your Flutter application, where we have the app bar, we have columns and containers, and there is the text widget also, and row widget. So we'll take some of these basic widgets in today's session. We'll take up container first. Container as defined here is just a simple, you can take it up as a box which you can give certain properties. So it is a simple widget that you can modify properties of. You can create squares, you can give it some borders, you can change colors later on, give it a alignment. So this is one of the most commonly used widgets in Flutter. And then we would look at the column widget and the row widget, and then we would also see how to use text, and most importantly we'll also use scaffold. So scaffold has all these different properties that you can use. It has an increment button like the one we saw, and then there is the app bar, and you can also have like bottom navigation in scaffold. So yeah, let's go back to the code. So we were returning, we what we did right now is I told you about the main function. Then we have the my app widget. So this my app widget is the basic or the ground widget on which we will build everything. So widgets again are Lego blocks. You'll keep one on top of the other and you will have the complete application. We'll start with the my app, which is like the base of it. So what we are doing is we have set the home of this my app widget to this home page. This home page would be our first widget to come on this my app, and we'll just define it right now. So we created a stateless widget and we gave it the name homepage. It returns a container. Containers are like empty boxes that you can give certain properties. But what I'll do is I'll get rid of this container and instead I'll use scaffold. So scaffold is again one of the common widgets, and there are a lot of properties that you can define for it. So I can give it a app bar, and I hope my code is visual. So I'll just zoom in a little bit. Yeah, so we have the homepage which is returning a scaffold, and it takes in a app bar. Now if I just hot reload it, so what I did was I pressed on Control plus S. You can even go over here and do a hot reload. So what it does is this is the fast development that Flutter promises. As you write your code inside your IDE, you can see the changes happen quickly inside your emulator, or if you are working with web, then you can see the changes on web. If you have a mobile phone connected, you can see the changes on your mobile phone right then and there. So this is like a big advantage. You are writing code and you can quickly see the changes that are happening. So I just add in an app bar. Another thing with Flutter is you can hover over the particular widget and you can get a list of all the available properties that you can tap into. So here you can see like we have another property called body that we can use of a scaffold. So I'll hit enter and just type in body. So it would show me like all the different available properties, and I'll use body for it. This would also come with experience, as in after you develop a few applications, you would know like what all properties you can change. Or you can look it up, as in if you wanted to know how to give a certain widget a border, you can look up on Google like how to give it a border. So it will tell you all the properties that you can modify, or you can just go through the documentation, like hover over the widget and see all the properties available that you can modify. So I'll give it a body for now, which would be a column. Let's just go with the container first so that we are able to visualize what a container looks like. So I'll give it a container. Now, again, to know like what all different properties are, I can go over to this widget and try to see the list of properties available here. So right now my Android Studio has stopped working. Again, one of the things why you can use Visual Studio Code is because Android Studio is heavier on your CPU, whereas Visual Studio Code uses less power. So I hope I am audible. This should take some time. It's common thing right here. I think if you are streaming as well, so it sometimes happens. Okay. So it's working fine now. We'll check out the other properties as well that we have in this container. One is a width, so I can give it some width. Width takes in a numerical value. So if I give it a width and a height, 100, and we can also change the color for our container. I can give it colors dot red. And now if I just hot reload it, it should show up on screen as this small box. And you will notice like it is pushed to the left hand side. That generally happens. So they are aligned to the left hand side because it would take as much space as it is available to this container, as in it is right now only using this part of the screen. So what I can do is, right now we checked out like what a container looks like. There are a few other widgets that I want to take up for introduction, which are columns and rows. So what a column does is, a column would arrange all the widgets horizontally. A column would arrange them vertically, whereas a row would arrange all these widgets horizontally. So I'll cut this code from here. I'll just type in column, and what column does is it takes in multiple children, as in since you have to arrange different widgets, so it would take multiple children. So I'll type in children, and then I can specify the container that I initially had as one of its child. So I moved that container inside this column widget, and what I can do is I can define multiple containers inside it. So I just copied the code again and pasted it here. Now if I hot reload it, what should happen is these containers should show up on screen arranged vertically, as in they are one on top of the other. So if it's not visible, I can just simply change the color so that it's better visible. Yeah, so we have the red one here. This is our container, and we have the yellow container on it, and then the red container again. So this is like a simple way of arranging these different containers. Okay. And right now, since they are on one on top of the other, what you can do is you can also use row. Replace the column with row, and now these containers should align horizontally. So they are arranged horizontally right now. We have the red in the center, the yellow one. We have the red here, the yellow one in center, and then the red one again. So this is like the simple way of writing Flutter code. And one of the things that right now, see, it is like very much onto the screen. So how do you know like what is right now, since we are giving it some definite width, as in we are defining these height and width properties. So there is this class called media query class that you can tap into to get the height and width of the screen. So dot of context, dot size, dot height. Now this is one of the like advanced concepts. as in after you start developing, you can use this to get how big your screen is and adjust the height of your container accordingly. So if I what happens is, right now you would notice that all these containers got aligned to the center. Why? Because a container has these properties like where they take up the maximum space. So since this container was taking up the whole space, these two align to the center of this widget. So what you can do is, you can accordingly also specify the width, but I'll have to get rid of the other containers because right now this width and height would completely fit the screen. So if I'll just try to do it now, it should get some error. This is the render overflow error because my one widget is taking up the whole space. So these other two cannot fit inside it. So I'll have to get rid of it to completely, okay, it should be width here. Now this should take up like the whole space that is available to it. So these were the containers. We also saw like the column, as in how to arrange the widgets vertically, and row, how to arrange them horizontally. And we also want to see the properties of scaffold. Right now we are using the app bar. App bar is this top top bar that we have. Now it also has certain properties that you can tap into. Again, to know the properties, you can go over to the widget and you can check out the properties that you want to change, or you can simply type in title. And if you type in title, it would tell you like what it takes in a widget. So if I type in title, I need to give it the widget. So text is the widget that we use to put in text anywhere. So I'll just type in text and I'll put in the curly braces for any widget, and then I need to specify my string. So I'll type in app bar here, and now if I hot reload it, should come up on the screen like the text that I type here should show up on the app bar on the screen. So this is the text widget. Now we would be using text widget to put in text anywhere inside our application. So this is one of the common widgets, again with rows and columns. And after you have specified the text, there are some other properties that you can tap into, as in if you want to center this title. So you can simply type in center title, and you will notice that center title takes in a boolean. So after I type in center title, I can give it a boolean as in true. Now this app bar text should come in the center of the screen. So what I want to show with this is, first, there are these four basic widgets that I wanted to show: app bar, row, column, text, and the container widget. And then I wanted to show like how simple it is to write code, as in you have all these properties. First of all, you have all these widgets that you can place one on top of the other, and then you have all these properties that you can define, as in you can simply go over to a widget and check out all the available properties in it, or you can simply use like uh, you can go over to the app bar for documentation, or simply type it in and you'll get like all the different properties. Like if I wanted to change the background color, I can simply type in color and I'll get like background color and give it some color, as in colors dot yellow. So that should change the color. So this is how simple it is. So coming back to again, the everything is a widget. We have all these different widgets that you can go through uh, to know like what all different widgets you have that you can modify. So Flutter has this in their documentation. So you can go over to flutter.dev and go to docs, and there they'll have the complete widgets catalog available right here. So these are some of the widgets that you can try out in Flutter. And then uh, we were talking about the stateless widget. Stateless widget is the one that doesn't have any state, so it isn't changed during the execution of the program. But what I can do is I can show a stateful widget right now. So we were using homepage as a stateless widget for now, but I'll just get rid of this here, and I'll type in class homepage. What I'll do is I'll create a stateful widget. So I'll type in htful. uh, I'm getting these options because I have the plugins installed. You can have the same on Visual Studio Code, and once you type all these in short, and you would get all the option. So you can type in stateful and it should write the code for you. So you just have to type in the name of the widget as in home page. Right now it is stateful, so you would notice that there is the class of homepage, and then there is a class called homepage state. So we can modify this state if required. So what I can do is scaffold and give it a body. So this body can have a elevated button, and what I can do is give this elevated button a child. Should be text that can say like a simple text called click me. So if I try to run it now, it should show a elevated button on screen with the text called click me. So it is right here. And right now you would notice that I am not able to click on it because it does not have a on pressed define for it. And also the app bar is gone. So if you need the app bar, you can simply create a empty app bar, and now it should come right here. What I'll do is I'll also center this button. So one of the things that you can do on Android Studio, and you can even do it in Visual Studio Code, you can check out the context action on Android Studio. You can click on a widget and click on Alt plus Enter, or you can simply go with your mouse and do a right click, show context actions, and you'll have like all these different properties available in it. Like you can wrap it with a widget if you want to put a widget around it, or if you want to center it, so you can wrap with center. So this should it should create center, it should wrap this elevated button that we have with the center widget. And now if I hot restart it, so it should come to the center of the screen right here. So that is one of the tricks that you can use to wrap widgets in Flutter. And other than that, once we have the click me button defined, what I'll do is I'll give it a on press property. So this on pressed, we'll use it to change the color of the background. So what I have right here is background. I can give it background. So what I should do is can I change it? I'll have to try it once. I can do is inside this homepage state, I can create a color equal to colors dot red. Now I can use this color here. Okay. And what I can do is when this button is pressed, I can change this colors dot green. So now what happened is, I had my scaffold. I gave it a background color which was a red. I defined this color and gave it as a property, background color property to my scaffold. Now I have my elevated button here, which has a on pressed in inside it. So if I click on it, nothing happens right now. What I'll have to do is, since it is a stateful widget, I can set state. So set state is a function that lets you change some properties. And now if I restart this application, it should change the background color, right? So what I'll do is I'll just refresh it once. Okay, so initially when we start out, this color was defined for this home page. Home page is a stateful widget again. So this background, this color was defined to be red for this widget, right? So then what happened is कि after this color was defined, we wanted to set this color as the background of our scaffold. So we just gave it as a property to this background color. But now during the execution of the application, let us say like you want to change or update some properties of this widget. So for that we need this set state. So what happens is, unless like if it would have been a stateless widget. So this was my stateless widget. If I wanted to change this color from, like right now it's brown, so if I wanted to change it to, let's say, pink, what I had to do was I had to destroy my old widget and recreate like a new stateless widget with the color pink. But what happens in a stateful widget is, initially this color was set to red, but you can update the state. That is, you can change this color to be green. So I have my elevated button, which is another widget that we will be using a lot inside our Flutter applications. It takes in two properties. One is on pressed. On pressed, you define like when you tap on the button, what action should occur. For that, we define the on pressed, and it has a child property. Child as in ki we had the outer widget, what would come inside of it. So that is our child. We are using the text widget as the child. We'll give some text, like we have used the click me text right here. So this is the text that would come inside this button. And then we can define this on pressed. That is what would happen when the button is pressed. We have defined it to set state. So this set state function, uh, what it does is it changes the state of the widget. And what it will do is it will first uh, assign a green color to this color variable, and when set state occurs, this code will be checked again, and the properties, like wherever the color is defined, it would be changed to green. So that's what we are doing. So when we tap on this button, the color should update and change to green. So these are like the stateful widgets where you don't have to rebuild everything, and it would just show up on the screen when you update the state. Now we come to first, before we go into that laying widgets, there are some sample applications that you can check out. Flutter sample, like there are all these different applications. So chances are, like when you take up Flutter, you want to create some applications of your own. What you want to do is, like, let us say like this is the UI design, or this is the design provided to you, and you want to create an application where you have image on top, then you have some text here, then you have some buttons. So how this laying of widget is done? So basically, if you are a Flutter developer, you will have to first visualize like how all these, what these widgets are and how they are laid. So we have these image button, image widget on top, then we have this small text inside it, and then we have these buttons aligned. So again, if you have to like align these widgets, that is what I wanted to show with the column and column and the row part. So we had this center widget in the center, but what you can do is use a column if you want to align these widgets and column takes in some children. So you have to first define children, then give it the container as its child, and also give it a width and some color. You can do by colors dot green. Yeah. So we can just copy and paste this. So we'll have it as red and then black. So these are like the different containers which are aligned vertically right now. And this can be done with the help of column. So in the same image, you can see like if you have to align everything vertically, as in first you'll have the image, then you'll have the text, then all these buttons. So what you will do is you will create a first outer column, and then inside this column you'll have first the image widget, and then you can have this row of text, as in these two would be in column and these two would be in a row. So that is how you like go ahead, and the background color is defined. So I'll just get rid of it. So right now we have all these widgets. I'll just increase the width and the height of these two widgets. So these widgets are bigger now. So what you can do is inside this column, you can have a row if you need it to be. So let's just get rid of the middle container. And what I'll do is I'll create a row, as in type row, and then row would again take in children. It wouldn't have a single child, but it will have multiple children. And you can put this inside it once and twice. So let us see now how it looks like. So what we have here is we had the column completely right here, and then we have these two in the middle. So there are certain properties that you can modify to adjust the alignment. As in for column, we have the main axis alignment property. You can use main axis alignment dot center. Or a column, since it is arranging vertically, the main axis is downwards. So instead we can, so what it does is like this is the whole screen width. So main axis for a column is vertically downwards, and there is this property, next property called cross axis. So cross axis is vertically for a column, and if I'll do cross axis alignment, what it would do is dot center. It should bring these widgets to the center of the screen, but right now it's not working because a container takes up the maximum space. What you can do in such a situation is define an empty container which has like which is the width of the complete screen. So right now what is happening is like this is the whole screen. These two widgets are being aligned in the center, both from the top, as in from the main axis, and both from the side, that is the side axis on the two sides. But this nothing is happening to this row widget because it has some properties of its own that you can define. For a row, as in if you are arranging widgets horizontally, the main axis is again horizontal, but the cross axis is vertical. So if you want to arrange this in the center, you can use the main axis alignment property and try to do it with that. Now it should come in the center of your screen. So this is like for the, this was for the row widget. The main axis alignment was horizontal, and you can use the main axis alignment property to arrange these widgets in the center of your screen. So there are a lot of such exercises that you can do to know like how, what all different properties are there in a widget that you can modify. And what I want to do is also uh, so this was like the outside. But container also have a child property, so you can define a child for a container and give it some text, as in, let us say hello. So it should show up on the first container, that the red container that we have. So coming back to our design itself, we have the outer one as the column, because of which these all these widgets are being aligned vertically. But inside you can even have a row. You can have a row inside a column if you want to align your widgets inside it horizontally. So that is one thing that you can do. And there was this slide about business logic that was left. What I meant was, since Flutter is compatible for 6 different devices, what I'll do is I'll also connect my mobile device and try to run the same application on that. It should take some time. So I'll just connect my device. If you are developing in Flutter, you can even use emulators, but I like to run my application on a real device, because then my CPU doesn't use like it doesn't get that much load. So you can run it on a real device, or you can set up an emulator using Android Studio. So if you have any questions so far, you can ask them. We are already 1 hour into the session. So if there is anything that you would like me to take up, so you can ask me. I'll just till then start up my emulator. And to run this application on my mobile device, I'll change my output device and again run the application. So it should take some time. For whenever you are running on Android, on an Android device, what it will do is it will build an APK and it would install that APK. But you can even see the live changes happen on your mobile device, like we did. We were working with web so far. Everything that I was doing, it was happening here on a local host. This was for Flutter web, but these same changes these all these things would look similar on the mobile device. The only changes that would be there would be in adjusting according to the width and the height of mobile screen, because on Flutter web these widgets can expand to the full screen of the desktop. Size is really big, but on mobile device it would be limited, so we'll have to adjust our widgets accordingly. So again, to that point, the goal is not to have the same application run on 6 different devices. What we save on here is business logic. So what do I mean by business logic? Initially, when we were running this application, it had a increment button on its side. Like, we had this small button that was used to increment the counter each time someone tapped on it. So the basic function, the function of this button would remain same for the 6 different platforms, as in it would be same for mobile application, it would be same for the web. But what you can do is you can modify UI or the user interface for the different platforms. So you can save money on writing the function. You can reuse these functions everywhere, but you can change and modify the user interface according to the different platforms that you want your application to run on. So it would mean, like, for startups or for companies, they would have to hire less developers to do most of this work, and instead they can just have the same business logic for different platforms. And that is why Flutter is better than other language, other cross platform. Like it is better than native because you can run it on different platforms itself. So running Gradle tasks should take some time. It should take some time to run on the device. So what we see here is this application is now running on the mobile device, and it is showing this error on the side, as in there is this render overflow error. Why? Because my phone screen width is really less, as in if since I'm specifying this width myself, so it is showing error because the available screen width is not as much. So what I'll do is I'll come back to the code. Yeah, I'll just come back to the code, and so I'll scroll down to where we had our row inside this o- hole. So we had this row, and there are two widgets in it with a width of 200. So they total up to 400, which is too much. So you can try to manually lower it down, as in keep the width to 100. Now if I hot restart, matlab hot reload it, so it should lower the width, and now these two should fit inside the screen. So we'll just wait for it to refresh. Yeah, so right now they are both occupying like 200, so I'll just increase it so it's a little more broader. So yeah, we have it similar, but again, this is the thing that I wanted to highlight. The only changes that you have to do when moving from one platform, as in when moving from your Flutter web to your Flutter application on a real device, would be the changes in the UI. If I were to, write the same code to change the background color, it would remain same across platforms, the two platforms that we have, web or the Android platform that we have here. It would remain the same. And again, you don't have to manually enter this width and all. There is this media query class that you can use. This is something I learned while working at an internship. I wasn't familiar with how to get the screen size or how to make it responsive for different screens. After you'll get started with Flutter development, this would be one of the things that you have to focus on, making your apps responsive. Now this screen size could vary, so instead of just manually entering the width, you can use the media query class. Where does this manual entering width comes in? So if you need to use a container which has to have the specified width and height, you can use this property. But if you have to have a container that should fit all on the screen, then you can use media query to get the size of the screen. Try to fit widgets accordingly. Okay. So right now, what we saw in today's session was had like an overview of Flutter. We went to basics as well, but I think I just came through it really fast. Uh, and after that, we saw the basic widgets, rows, columns, and all. And let me just go over to GitHub once. So and we also saw like we started out why Flutter, because if you are a student looking to go into development and aren't familiar with the React and JS side, so you can go over to you can simply start with Flutter. Dart is really simple to learn, so that was one of the things that we did. The crash course in Dart was really quick, so I don't know, I couldn't take it up as much, but Dart is a lot similar to Java and C, and it is really easy to get started with it. Then we saw the basics of widgets, and there are some resources that I want to discuss. Like if you want to start out with Flutter, how do you, even after this workshop, like these workshops would provide a basic overview, but what are some of the resources that you can take up to actually learn Flutter? So this I think would be better if we take up in tomorrow's session, as in after we are done. So for the day 2, I have planned of working on this application. It would be a weather app, in way we would be looking at like how to use APIs, because one of the things that you would require while working with Flutter is how to get data from an API and how to show it in your application. Another thing we would be focusing on tomorrow is to use external packages in your Flutter application. Now Flutter is open source and it has a big community, so you don't have to actually write all of the code yourself. You can use someone else's code from the community, as in for certain packages. Like let us say for this weather application alone, if you want to get some location, if you want to get the location of your device, how would you do that? You can use an external package called geolocation, which would help you get the location, and you don't have to write all the code, all the native code for how you can get permission and how you can get location. All that you don't have to do. So we would be seeing how to use external packages. Then some native operations that you can do, like again this location and the camera. There are a lot of native operations, and I'll just give an overview of that API we discussed. And then we would be looking at a few other topics, as in state management. We today saw like what are stateless widgets and what are stateful widgets. So if you have to, like let us say I was using the button to update the color, but that is very cumbersome in the sense, like if I want to make a few changes, my widget would have to be updated all over again. So this widget was updating completely, so it is really tiresome, or it is very heavy on the CPU to update a complete widget. So therefore what we'll do is we'll look at state management, as in a quick overview, different state management tools, and how you can update a particular thing on screen when you need it to be. So that is why state management is used. I'll take it up in tomorrow's session. And then lastly, we'll conclude with the resources, the different resources that are available online, both structured and unstructured, free and courses that you can take up after this workshop, and also how to build up your profile as a Flutter developer. That is how to actually put out products, projects to get internships and all. So that would be in tomorrow's session. For today I think this would be it. So let me know if you have any questions, and you can check out this day 2 content GitHub repository for some links, and for the code I'll update it later here.